Welcome back from lunch, and thanks to IATA for providing the sumptuous lunch. It was like a feast, and I hope we will try to keep awake this afternoon. We had a very interesting discussion this morning on the, I would say, the evolution of the USOAP CMA, and there were lots and lots of contribution from states, which was very healthy, very, very good. We appreciate that. So we'll continue from where we left off. There's no request for the floor. Does any state want to comment before I hand over to the Secretariat to provide clarifications on the various issues raised? Kenya and Jordan, you have the floor. Kenya first.
Thank you, Chair. And it's my humble request that you've noticed me at this time. I raised quite a number of, wanted to have a chance to speak. However, on the contributions that were done by the Secretariat, I really appreciate and do thank them for presenting a wonderful paper. However, I wanted just to make an observation on working paper 44. Yes, well, I do appreciate the paper in increasing efficiency of the USOAP and its evolution. 31C seems to, I think yesterday you saw the mood of the plenary in terms of contributions about GASOS. It seems like this animal has come back again, this time through the window. Because we dealt about it and we said a lot more work needs to be done on GASOS, it seems that through 31C, actually GASOS is being introduced, whereby we're thinking about full audits and partial audits through transparency, but through other accreditations of safety partners, states, not states, but entities who are not clearly defined. Since yesterday, the conclusion, if my mind bears me right, was that we need to consider that a little more work needs to be done on GASOS. On the same breath, then we need to also look at these 31C, that indeed this particular working paper presented by Australia and other member states of ICAO and by Eurocontrol, that it can be looked at it later, and we need to deliberate more on it before sending it for consideration. That's my contribution, Chair, and thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you very much, Kenya. Jordan, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. While Jordan supports the recommendation of Working Paper 21 as presented, at the same time, wishes to refer to Working Paper 44, in particular, recommendation 3.1c, to emphasize that Jordan goes with the consolidation of the USOAP CMA within the current ICAO setup rather than the fragmentation as suggested in Working Paper 44 3.1c. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Jordan. It's now the turn of Council to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comments with respect to Working Paper 189, Council supports the comments of France. Council understands the intent of the Working Paper, but recommends the use of caution regarding the prescriptive approach to trying to address fatigue management for air traffic control. Currently, there is a fatigue management guide for air traffic service providers published by CANSO, ICAO, and FATCA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council. Spain, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and good afternoon to all. I would just like to endorse what was said by Colombia prior to the lunch break on the creation of a group. Thank you.
Thank you, Spain. I'll now give the floor to the Secretariat for various clarifications. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to everyone. Starting with the Secretary's paper, we took note of the support from the committee to reiterate the word of caution from the Council not to lose pertinent information when reducing the total number of protocol questions. I just want to clarify that the GUSR recommendation was not to exclude totally from ICAO's monitoring program the questions related to annexes other than safety-related annexes, such as Annex 9 or the environment-related annexes, Annex 16, but rather to exclude them from the USOAP CMA toolbox, which is already quite full. So this is something that is taken into account, and again, that's for ICAO to take on board according to the comments from the Council and reiterated by this group. Regarding the working paper 79 by Australia and the related comments, which were calling for prioritization in the implementation of Group A of the recommendation of the GUSR, which addresses the structured revision of the protocol question. Just like to comment that this group is closely interrelated with Group B, which is the identification of the protocol questions. So again, this will be taken on board as a priority, but subject to the availability of the necessary human and financial resources. Regarding working paper 44 by the European states and the related interventions from states, what we hear is that there is a balancing act needed between, on one hand, and in the future evolution, the progressive, as I heard, progressive future evolution of the USOAP CMA, the imperative need to look at synergies, possible synergies, and also to avoid duplication of activities and an additional burden on states, but also, and that would be to increase the efficiency, of course, to continue to increase the efficiency of the USOAP CMA, but also to keep on the safeguards to maintain what are the fundamental principles of the USOAP program since its beginning, 97, the voluntary program, is the universality and the standardization. And the global acceptance, as some of the distinguished delegates have said. So it's really a balancing act. Regarding the mention of GASOS, I just want to mention to reiterate that GASOS right now in its current state does not look at delegation of functions from ICAO, USOAP related, but delegation of functions from states. However, as I said, we're taking the main thing here, which is to identify means to further identify synergies and avoid duplication of efforts. Regarding the state safety risk profile, of course, it's a very seductive notion, but it's rather in concept. So my clarification is just to mention that there is a link there between this notion and a set of recommendation by the GUSR on the indicators, safety risk indicators at state level used within the USOAP CMA, because the profile is the concept, but actually the instrument has the set of indicators. And we already have recommendation from the GUSR to enhance in terms of variety, but also the quantity, the use of these indicators. Some will be numerical, but some will be in the form of traffic lights. And these will be available in the same way that the current indicators are available to states on the OnlineFramework. Of course, not to the public, but it's sensitive information, but they're still available on the restricted web-based platform, which is the OLF. And again, one of these indicators, for example, would be the completion, the degree and reliability of the completion of the self-assessment. It's one of, for example, traffic lights. You could have it green, you could have it amber, you could have it red. And that's a good transition for the next paper from Canada and the related interventions, working paper 122, which has a very big merit of highlighting the importance of the self-assessment. In the continuous monitoring approach, the main misunderstanding is to think that the continuous monitoring is by ICAO. Actually, it's a combination of continuous monitoring first and foremost by the states themselves, and then some interventions from ICAO with the possibility, thanks to the OLF, this continuous monitoring tool, to have an adequate intervention, which could be of the audit type or which could be of the validation types, ICVM, for example. So the self-assessment can be enhanced with cooperation, regional cooperation, but also peer assessments. And with such an assessment, it corresponds to a tool that is available to ICAO that may actually avoid the states to be audited if we have the level of confidence and the related evidence, which is uploaded together with the self-assessment by the state. So it contributes to actually not having an audit, for example, if there's no need for that, because the CMA is risk-based. Regarding the credit that would be given to auditors, as was mentioned by some of you, again, there are opportunities given to states experts to participate in the activities of the USOAP, especially in audits, and to become accredited and to become OJT'd and to become auditors. It's a very standardized process because this contributes together with other tools to the standardization of activities, so we cannot deviate from that. However, the fact of participating, for example, as an observer to the audit of another state, I think strengthen the capacity of the observing state to understand the principles of USOAP. But again, for obvious reasons of standardization, we cannot deviate from the training process that we have. Regarding the working paper from Uruguay, 189, and the related interventions, I'd like to reassure you that amendments to annexes are already taking into account when it's time to amend the protocol questions. So we have an established process. So here, as we're looking at the USOAP CMA methodology, processes, and tools, I can assure you that when we amend the protocol questions related to these related matters in fatigue risk management in this case, and the Secretariat is already ready to do it, the latest amendments of the annexes are taken into account. It doesn't mean that we add questions, and again, remember the direction will be to rationalize the number of questions and maybe sometimes reduce them, of course, when according to the GSR recommendations. However, the issue will be definitely taken into account once the applicability dates of the related provisions, which I believe are November 2019, are already passed. Finally, regarding the paper from the AFCAC member states, working paper 217, regarding regional cooperation, from the Secretariat we have observed how much regional cooperation or cooperation between states in one part of the regions have helped in enhancing the maturity of the states, not only in the USOAP CMA processes, but also in the implementation of safety oversight provisions. And one example I would like to mention is the ABIS group of states, which have collaborated between them. So it's a group of states within the European region that have cooperated between them and have a standing NCMC group, and that enhanced tremendously the capacity they had, including, I'm insisting, the self-assessment, because it's crucial in the USOAP CMA. So at this stage, I would like to give the floor to Captain Denis Guindon, who is the Deputy Director for Monitoring and Oversight. Thank you.
Merci, Nicolas. Bonjour à tous. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the frank and direct discussion that we had this morning. I think it's proving that the USOAP program is truly one of the pillars of ICAO. But I just want to explain a little bit and make a difference for you of what a GUSR is, and to give you a view of what is the path forward moving with this and with the work plan. The group of experts came up with close to 37 recommendations, and those are very good recommendations, which will provide what I could call a C-check from an aviation perspective. So it's a fairly good overview of the program and trying to refine it. And a lot of those activities which are proposed will take some years to be accomplished. There's quite a lot of work there. So we're working, we've presented the GUSR to the Commission. We had a discussion about the GUSR at the Council. We'll have some more discussion next year as well, the Assembly, and actually we want to engage into upgrading more or less the USOAP program. But if I heard well this morning, there's as well some views that we need to probably take an higher altitude look into the program and see what should be, in the longer term, the USOAP program. I don't think that we can do that in the near term, to tell you the truth, because there's just so much to do. But I do believe that for us to be able to do some other change to the USOAP program, I think that would be more work to be ready for some discussion, decision, to naturally the Commission and then the Council, and probably target Assembly 41. Trying to do that earlier would be quite problematic from my perspective because there's just so much resources available. I do believe, however, that USOAP CMA with the GUSR recommendation and the work that we need to accomplish forward will probably refresh the program to a level I think that will be satisfied for several years. While I was checking this morning, since the beginning of the CMA in 2011, we have performed 181 audits in ICVMs. So next year, basically in 2019, after 8 years of the program, we'll hit the 200 marks, which is, I think, an interesting number. I've tried to dig out the numbers, how many audits and ICVMs and so on and so forth we've done since the beginning of the program, but I would assume that's probably close to 300 to 400 on the number. So the program is sound, but the program has to evolve. And I think the GUSR will bring us there. And I think as well, if the committee here agreed to look at an overall more holistic approach, I think we could be ready to present a more substantial thing to the program, but only for Assembly 41. But there's probably some more we can do earlier than this to try to define the vision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretariat. And we will conclude with a summary of the discussions and conclusions. It's not easy, but we'll try. One, the committee noted the recommendations of the GEUSR and supported the evolution of the USOAP CMA based on the GEUSR recommendations. We've been told that there were lots of them and it take a number of years to implement, but we supported the recommendations. Then two, the committee recognized the need to avoid the loss of pertinent information when reducing the number of USOAP CMA protocol questions, especially with regards to questions not directly related to safety oversight. Three, the committee acknowledged the need for additional financial and human resources in order for ICAO to implement the GEUSR recommendations. And four, the committee agreed that states should be strongly encouraged to complete their self-assessments of the USOAP CMA protocol questions in a detailed and reliable manner and to keep them up to date as needed. I mean, we all recognize the tremendous effort of Canada and their collaboration with Brazil to undertake a peer review. And we urge all states to do likewise. Five, the committee recognized the benefits of enhanced regional cooperation and sharing of experience for the implementation of USOAP CMA activities. Six, the committee acknowledged that the review of recent applicable amendments to the annexes was a normal part of the process followed by ICAO for the periodic amendment of the USOAP CMA protocol questions. And the last one relates to what I would say generated a lot of interesting debate. We had a proposal from Austria on behalf of the EU member states and ICAO states on delegating responsibility to conduct some audits on behalf of ICAO. And it had a lot of support, but then there were the counter views that doing that could mean loss of standardization, objectivity, global acceptance, and all this. So we needed to find a compromise. Then there were brilliant suggestions by Colombia, Canada, Austria, France, Germany, Sweden, a number of states that, look, why don't we have a study group to look at this future evolution of the CMA, because it's progressive and we have to move continuously. It reminds me of these mobile phones. I mean, now I hear there's iPhone Max. You start getting used to it, then to be iPhone Max Plus. Then, I mean, it's a continuous evolution, and you never get used to one model. In other words, we may not necessarily have to wait to implement all the GUSR recommendations before we move to GUSR plus, and so on. So a number of states recommended that we should have a sort of a study group to look into some of these progressive future evolution, and we need to take account the concerns also raised. So we have a final recommendation to try to address all the issues. So I will read. The committee agreed that in order to address the progressive evolution of the USOAP CMA beyond the GEUSR recommendations, a study group be established to address means to avoid duplication of efforts and finding synergies to enhance the efficiency of the USOAP CMA while maintaining safeguards to guarantee the independence, universality, standardization, and global acceptance in the implementation of the USOAP CMA. Thank you very much. Concludes our discussion on agenda item 6.3 on the USOAP CMA and the progressive evolution of USOAP CMA. Thank you very much for your active participation. South Africa, you have the floor.
Chair, thank you. Chair, the concern is if we agree that the panel of experts that we're reviewing on the CMA have so much recommendation that needs to be implemented and it will take this long. Now, conducting this study group, or how much work do you want to generate before we implement any of those recommendations? Thank you, Chair.
Secretariat, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. Good question. Actually, I think that GEUSR has a report which is very, very practical. Australia has mentioned that they would propose to us to start the work as soon as possible to be able to decrease more or less the PQs where warranted. So the Secretariat is very much open to this. We have had some discussion again at the Commission and the Council, so it's a matter of us to provide the resources accordingly to be able to move forward with this. So I don't see that there's going to be a delay to start implementing the GUSR. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretariat. We have Spain requesting for the floor. Spain.
Thank you very much, Chairman. First, I support the last recommendation that was just mentioned, and with regard to the conclusion number 2 and avoiding loss of information and questions that don't relate to safety oversight, we would like for this to be mentioned in some way for inclusion in other ICAO mechanisms. to make sure that that information is audited. Thank you.
Thank you, Spin. I believe the Secretariat has noted your concern. It will be in the final report, which will be looked at by the ANC and Council and eventually forwarded to the 40th Assembly. But Secretariat has noted your concern to make sure that this aspect of not losing the PQs are reflected. Thank you. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Mr.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to take up South Africa's question, could we know a bit more about how the work of the group will be carried out, the group that was mentioned? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll leave that to Secretariat to respond.
I think that first of all, we need to start and finalize the planning of the work plan of the GUSR, which is starting momentarily. That's the first thing. The second thing is to be able to project plan what that study group would be and when it would start to be formed. Naturally, we should be seeking guidance from the Commission and the Council in regards of moving forward. But I think that we can start to plant some seed in that ivory esoterical group that we want to form at a later date. But we can certainly start discussing, but I just want to not preclude any work on the GUSR in the short term. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished delegates, for your active participation. It's very lively, very interactive, and it's good for the growth of our industry, for all member states to actively participate in such fora. That concludes agenda item 6.3. We will move. Okay, we'll give Secretariat 5 minutes to reorganize themselves, and we'll have other supporting staff, and then we go straight to agenda item 7. Please still remain in your seats. We have a lot to cover. safety risks. Please take your seats. In this agenda item, we'll review papers addressing the facilitation of data-driven decision-making in support of safety intelligence. We will discuss the operational safety risks at the global, regional, and national levels, and the role of RSOOs and RASCs in achieving the GASP goals, as well as other implementation issues. We'll start with sub-item 7.1 on facilitation of data-driven decision-making in support of safety intelligence to support safety risk management. Under agenda item 7.1, we have a number of working papers covering a variety of topics related to facilitation of data-driven decision-making and the collection, analysis, and sharing of safety information in support of safety assessment, risk-based validation, and operational and safety risk management. To facilitate the discussion, we have grouped the papers in two batches, as we've been doing. So batch one will cover the WPs on the facilitation of data-driven decision-making. I will now invite the Secretariat to present working paper 23 on facilitation of data-driven decision-making in support of safety risk management. Then I'll invite states and international organizations to present other related papers in the batch. Secretariat, you have the floor to present WP 23.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everybody. So I will present working paper 23, which is a secretariat paper on this agenda item. So facilitation of data-driven decision-making in support of safety risk management presents analysis solutions developed or proposed by ICAO that include data, tools, methodologies, and training that facilitate data-driven decision-making. These solutions, collectively referred to as air navigation integrated analysis solutions, also assist stakeholders in identifying and managing safety risks in support of the development and dissemination of safety information and the effective implementation of state safety programs, SSP, and safety management systems. In addition, they support the implementation of predictive risk management measures based on the objectives of the Global Aviation Safety Plan and allow ICAO to monitor the achievement of targets outlined in the Global Air Navigation Plan. So this was the introduction of the working paper, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretariat. And I've not been doing well. We need to know the hardworking Secretariat staff who have been helping us with the discussions. And as and when they come up, I think they'll introduce themselves. So, Marco, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. Thank you. No, my name is Marco Merens. So I work in the Air Navigation Bureau, and I'm the chief of the integrated analysis section. And I'm here with my colleague Manush Valipur, who is the analysis and process engineer in that same section. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now call on the United States to present working paper 125. US, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to present this paper on behalf of the United States. Risk-based decision-making is the foundation of safety management systems. Timely and complete reporting of safety data to the organizations responsible for the type, design, and manufacture of aircraft is essential to effective risk management in the aviation safety system of today and the future. At the 2015 ICAO High-Level Safety Conference, the United States proposed the development of steps to move toward alignment of continued airworthiness risk-based decision-making processes and methods as a means to promote greater reliance on the decisions made by the state of design. Aligning continued airworthiness risk-based decision-making processes is relevant to all states, including those responsible for the type, design, or manufacturer of aircraft, as well as for states operating multiple aircraft types from different states of design that are accountable for the risk management of these aircraft. Further, as the aviation safety system becomes more global, it is likely that a majority of some fleets will be operated outside the state of design. This may lead to a significant amount of operational data that is not made available to the technical agent for that state, the type design holder, or the manufacturer of the aircraft. Lacking this critical safety data, the state's technical agent and type design holder will not be able to assess a full view of the safety issues that may affect the product. The annexes promote reporting of safety data, usually with the emphasis on reporting to the states of registry and subsequent coordination with the state of design. Working Paper 125 proposes the development of guidance for sharing safety data between operators and those responsible for the type, design, and manufacture of the aircraft. The United States invites the conference approve the recommendations in Working Paper 125. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, US. You have the floor again to present WP 126, US.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the validation of several aeronautical products, the aviation industry relies on member states to support each new state of registry in its effort to effectively validate the certificate, validate a certificate or approval issued by a competent state of design. ICAO annexes offer the validating authority of the state of registry the option to recognize, issue, or approve a comparable certificate based in part or in whole on the state of design certificate. This process can be simplified when importing member states' authorities can give maximum credit to the type of certification work performed by the state of design and minimize duplication work that adds little or no value to the safety of the aeronautical product. Validation processes among authorities are not always consistent. There is a growing trend by authorities to conduct a detailed technical review of aeronautical products rather than recognizing the competency of the state of design issuing the certificate. The trend has increased the general demand on resources for all parties without necessarily providing a safety benefit. A few years ago, the United States partnered with other member states from the Asia-Pacific and Oceania region to consider this trend and the challenges. This effort reviewed ICAO annexes and guidance and considered policies and processes offered by each of the members regarding validation. It concluded by developing standardized risk-based principles that would provide a new state of registry an efficient foundation to recognize, issue, and approve a comparable certificate based on a type certificate issued by another state of design. The United States, as well as a few other members, have begun to incorporate these principles into our validation processes with very positive results. Working Paper 126 proposes that standard risk-based principles and best practices for validation be developed by ICAO to address current challenges. The United States invites the conference to accept the recommendations contained in Working Paper 126. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. You still have the floor to present Working Paper 129, US.
Sir? In 2014, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration and Eurocontrol agreed to cooperate in the development of a shared web platform providing an integrated aviation risk model for safety performance evaluation. The harmonized models, Integrated Safety Assessment Model, ISAM, for the FAA, and the Integrated Risk Picture for Eurocontrol recognized the importance of global concepts, implementation of safety risk assessment regionally and locally, and cost-effective development of robust safety analysis tools. The development of harmonized integrated safety risk assessment models is important to international air navigation. Understanding the similarities and differences between airspace systems allows for a sensible comparison of system changes and emerging risks, spurring meaningful collaboration on safety risk identification, mitigation, and monitoring without conducting independent and duplicative analysis. Additionally, a shared web-based platform allows multiple geographically separated users to collaborate on and enrich safety risk assessment and risk-based decision-making within particular elements of the airspace system and for international air navigation as a whole. To ensure harmonized development of internationally acceptable integrated aviation safety risk assessment models, the United States proposes continued cooperation regarding joint model development to coincide with formalized project plans. The conference is invited to recommend the continued joint development of these models that support and enable baseline risk qualification, safety risk assessment, and forecasting. These models will support risk-based decision-making, accident and incident modeling, barrier analysis, sensitivity, and what-if analyses. Continued joint development will ensure that primary safety considerations are addressed within the integrated safety risk assessment models. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, United States. I'll now invite the Dominican Republic to present Working Paper 148. Dominican Republic.
Gracias. Thank you, Chairman. The Dominican Republic is presenting paper 148 on methodology for gathering and analyzing safety data. As part of introduction of state safety programs under Annex 19, we include the gathering and analysis of data and capture and storage of data on risks and hazards, and we prepare information for decision-making. However, often implementation requires investment and contracts with industry, which leads to lengthy training and a need for a change of culture. Therefore, it's important to start early to confer full benefits of the system. We propose a model for data gathering and analysis for decision-making in simple steps, and which is especially useful for complex programs. This will enable states to process data for safety decision-making without burdensome investments, which can make use of the web and Excel. This model provides useful information such for oversight systems broken down by type of occurrence, type of aerodrome, or type of operation by airline or operator. Predictive processes need to be strengthened and the correct stakeholders involved so as to avoid undesirable effects. These simple examples set out on the paper represent a proposal for a change of culture in safety oversight toward a predictive model in which decisions are data-driven. ICAO is creating guidance to harmonize processes, and states are introducing technologies that enable automated data analysis and optimization of resources. The conference is invited to raise awareness in states about the need to undertake a culture change in safety with simple procedures to optimize resources, and ask ICAO to take steps to help create procedures in states for safety data sharing. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Dominican Republic. I will now invite Singapore to present Working Paper 231, Revision 1, on behalf of China, Indonesia, Japan, Philippines, Singapore itself, Thailand, AAPA, IATA, Airbus, Boeing, Flight Safety Foundation, and MITA. Oh, is it MITA? MITA, thank you. Singapore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the honor to present working paper 231 on behalf of China, Indonesia, Japan, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, IATA, AAPA, Airbus, Boeing, Flight Safety Foundation, and the MITA Corporation. This paper highlights the progress of an initiative in the APAC region to establish a regional data collection, analysis, and information sharing for aviation safety, also known as the AP-Share Demonstration Project. Officially launched last year, AP-Share capitalizes on big data to support safety risk management efforts of states and industry. To date, there are 5 states and 15 industry partners participating in this project. This paper shares some lessons learned from AP-Share, which may be of interest to other states and regions that are exploring or setting up similar data sharing programs. Let me highlight 2 key insights. Firstly, a robust governance framework is key to addressing concerns regarding safety information protection. In particular, a governing board comprising states and industry, supported by experts from Flight Safety Foundation and the MITA Corporation, provides a clear decision-making structure for AP-Share. This framework has been instrumental in building trust and confidence among the participants. Secondly, there is a need for active collaboration among all participating organizations. This entails proactive sharing of resources and ensuring a sustainable funding structure to support the activities of the project. It is early days for AP-Share, but we see great potential in moving towards a more proactive management of safety. To conclude, the conference is invited to encourage states and industry to support regional mechanisms for data sharing and alignment of safety priorities, and to recommend that ICAO consider using an information sharing platform to share experience among regional groups. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Singapore, for your presentation on the AP-Share. I'll now open the floor for questions, comments, and contributions on all the papers delivered. Flight Safety Foundation, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Flight Safety Foundation supports working paper 231 that was presented by Singapore. In a world where we must learn from the operational safety data before an accident occurs in order to achieve the zero fatal accident objectives of the Global Aviation Safety Plan, this program is an excellent example of fostering trust between stakeholders in a novel and ambitious way. The program is considering many different sources for operational safety data, conducting analysis in a team fashion, exchanging the information through an analysis process, and working to build trust in handling the sensitive data. We're also encouraged to see an analysis process that is truly collaborative through industry and government organizations. They get a chance to discuss the biases and limitations of the data reviewed and cross-validation of that data from multiple sources. If we want to have information that serves to advance and improve the risks behind potential accident threats without distortion or threat of retaliation, the AP-Share process sets a good example on that front. The Flight Safety Foundation also supports Working Paper 129 for some of the same reasons and building on the intelligence of common safety risks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Flight Safety Foundation. I'll now invite United States to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The United States is in agreement with and in support of the concept of data-driven decision-making to support safety risk management and the implementation of state safety programs and safety management systems. The United States has taken steps toward implementing data-driven decision-making through the various programs as noted in Working Paper 125, 126, and 129, and supports states in improving their data-driven decision-making capabilities. The United States recommends further guidance be developed on the implementation of data-driven decision-making competencies by states. Before the implementation of analysis systems, it is important that states are collecting data and information fit for purpose. Additionally, while the United States supports the Safety Information Monitoring System program as a tool, it is critical for states to independently develop the necessary capability for safety information and data analysis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, United States. Denmark, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We support Working Paper 231 presented by a number of countries and stakeholders in the Asia-Pacific region. The Working Paper clearly shows the value of taking a regional approach to data collection, analysis, and information sharing, and it is of interest for other regions across the globe, especially those that are interested in both improved data sharing as well as alignment of safety priorities on a regional level. Regarding Working Paper 23, we support the paper and the proposed recommendations as presented by the ICAO Secretariat. Data-driven decision-making is of crucial importance for modern safety oversight. Therefore, we emphasize the need for reliable safety data and the quality of its sources. The tools for handling such data should be transparent, and there should be clarity about how the data is being combined, as well as the source and accuracy of the data and any statistical tests applied. We also believe there is a need for ICAO to better link the use of their analytical tools to the definitions in Annex 19. Finally, we would like to emphasize the importance of developing the capabilities of the states to make sense of the information made available. The focus of ICAO should be to assist the states in developing their processes, legal frameworks, and technical capabilities to properly analyze the data. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Denmark. Brazil, you have the floor.
Obrigado, senhor presidente. 25, presented by USA. The proposed share of safety events and data between operators around the globe and the type design organization has the potential to allow the type design holder to better identify safety issues in the design and improve the results of its risk management processes. We also want to support paper 126 because the proposal for the airworthiness panel to work on the reduction in duplication certification activities by the states of registry can only be welcomed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brazil. I'll now invite IATA to take the floor.
Working Paper 23, IATA understands and agrees that there is a need for tools to be developed to assist states in conducting data analysis and facilitate data-driven decision-making. However, there are some concerns with the practical application of the ICAO Safety Indicator Catalogue. In regards to SPIs, IATA agrees and supports the work to create harmonized indicators to facilitate sharing and benchmarking. By having common definitions, this can be achieved. However, the concern is that how this is being applied in practical terms. IATA is already witnessing states using the ICAO SPI list as the service providers must use, which was not the intention. As per Annex 19, SPIs should be in the context of the state aviation risk, and as such, not all SPIs will be applicable to all states or all service providers. In Working Paper 300, IATA propose a collaborative approach between states and service providers as an optimal way forward in developing safety intelligence that meets the intent and spirit of safety management and Annex 19. Thank you.
Thank you, IATA. Is a turn of council to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. CANSO supports working paper number 23 and shares IATA's concerns on the application of SPIs. So we would just encourage collaboration with service providers and oversight bodies in the development of appropriate SPIs for each state. We also support Working Paper 129, International Collaboration on Integrated Safety Assessment Models, as this will allow states to do further comparative analysis, work similar to the work that ANSPs are doing using common risk analysis methodology. Finally, we also support Working Paper 231, presented by states and industry together. This highlights the progress of the AP Share demonstration project for data collection, analysis, and information sharing for aviation safety in the Asia-Pacific region. We applaud this initiative in the Asia-Pacific region and see this as an example that can be used in other regions in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council. I'll invite Senegal to take the floor.
Merci, Monsieur. Thank you, Chair. Senegal supports, in fact, all of the working papers that speak about information sharing, particularly information that relates to safety. I think that we should also put the emphasis on what kind of information should be shared and deepen, therefore, our consideration of the format of all of the types of information that are to be shared. And it may not necessarily be a risk quantification, but an evaluation of the risks. The PANIS and AGIS systems will be integrated on the basis of all the providers' efforts in the states. And I believe that the implementation of this cooperation has been done through the SSPs. And in fact, all of the information will therefore, through these plans, be shared, reminding that we also have to highlight exactly what should be shared, but also evaluate the risk. Thank you.
Spain, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairman. We support Working Paper 148 presented by the Dominican Republic. We welcome this initiative, which demonstrates how you can start an activity on the basis of simple tools and processes and then allow the initiative to evolve as needed. We would like to emphasize existing cooperation between Europe, in particular EASA and ICAO, for eCares, the eCares database, as a global enabler for safety data collection. And we also propose that in recommendation B of that paper, we add words to the effect that states should be encouraged to share best practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Spain. It's now the turn of France to take the floor. France.
Thank you, Chairman. France supports Work Paper 125 and 126 presented by the U.S. regarding Working Paper 125 regarding facilitating safety information sharing. The initiatives that will be developed must avoid an additional flow of information between the state of the operator and the state of the designer. But it is important to strengthen the link between the operators and the designers. And therefore, the problems and concerns of safety should be dealt with rather than dealing with individual events, apart from investigations of safety incidents or if a certain problem is highlighted. Regarding working paper 126, regarding validation based on risk, we would like to emphasize that authorities who are validating certificates delivered by other states, particularly type certificates, should apply automatic acceptance or an approach based on risk. In fact, when a state has confidence in the technical capacity of a state that is delivering a certificate, there should not be any other assessments done. It should be automatically accepted. This approach will make it possible for the authorities and the industry to concentrate their resources on tasks that are of greater value added significance for safety. Thank you.
Thank you, France. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Japan will support working paper 231. This project will demonstrate the possibility of collaboration within the regions, and will show how to manage safety, how to manage and enhance safety, and how to manage the risk. Also, Japan supports working paper 148. The paper will show the various ways to comply with, to meet the ICAO provision. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. I'll now invite Rwanda to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rwanda would like to register its support for working paper number 125 and its recommendations as presented by the United States. We believe in the need to further develop guidance on data sharing among users of our different aviation systems. We also welcome a mechanism for global reporting of safety events and vulnerabilities. We also support working paper 126 and its recommendations. We believe that the work of the airworthiness panel should be unreservedly supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Rwanda. Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We support working paper 125 and 126 presented by United States, promoting states to share safety data for effective risk management for manufacturer of aircraft and operators. We also support the suggestions of United States requesting ICAO to develop SARS guidance material and manuals for risk-based validation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. It's now the turn of Sudan to intervene. Sudan?
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نحن نؤيد ما
Thank you, Chairman. We would like to express our support for working paper 125, 126 also, both presented by the U.S., and which, as a group, call upon us to exchange information on safety, which will in fact help us with decision-making, data-driven decision-making, to ensure safety and risk management. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudan. I'll invite Singapore to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Singapore supports the efforts undertaken by various states and industry partners in the area of data-driven decision-making, as expressed in working papers 23 and 129 by ICAO and the United States respectively. Current decisions around data-driven decision-making have correctly highlighted the need to focus on processes, systems, and models. We echo the remarks made by Denmark and the United States to pay attention to developing competencies. Technical competencies in the area of data collection, management, and analysis are necessary for data-driven decision-making. We urge ICAO to recognize that building technical competency in data collection, management, and analysis is critical to our ability to generate useful insight from aviation data, and that more focus should be placed on developing training and opportunities for capability development in this area. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Singapore. There are no further requests for the floor. So I hand over to Mr. Miguel Marin of the Secretariat to provide any clarifications. Miguel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Miguel Marin, and I'm the Chief of the Operational Safety Section. I just want to note the broad support for the Secretariat paper and the recommendations contained therein, and also the work of the airworthiness panel with regards to risk-based validation, although we do take note of the need for further guidance to promote and facilitate the sharing and exchange of safety data among various stakeholders and the risk validating that information. So we take note of that, and we make sure that it remains and maybe perhaps clarified further in the work program of the airworthiness panel. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Secretariat. I think this first batch on facilitation of data-driven decision-making received tremendous support, and we can conclude discussions on the papers presented. Yes. So with your permission, we wish to summarize as follows. The committee acknowledged the need to encourage states to implement data-driven decision-making processes and to report, share, and exchange safety information. There is a need for ICAO to continue to develop safety information analysis and sharing tools and solutions that support states in sharing and exchanging safety information. 3, there is also a need for ICAO to develop additional guidance material and support uniform processes that will promote and facilitate the sharing and exchange of safety data amongst various stakeholders. And finally, the committee noted the work of states in facilitating data sharing on national, regional, and international levels in support of safety risk assessment, validation, and management. Thank you very much for your invaluable contributions to this subject matter. We have about 10 minutes before coffee break. What I would suggest is we look at the second batch of papers. There are 3 papers from Republic of China. Then there is the BOP 280 to be presented by Belize on behalf of a number of states, and the BOP 185 by ACI. So we could present the 3 papers. After coffee break, we will enter into discussions. So the second batch of papers relate to other safety intelligence initiatives. So I'll now invite China to present working paper 141. People's Republic of China, you have the floor.
请中国发言。Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to all. I would like to present the practice of China in aviation operational risk control. Civil aviation airlines in China by development of operational risk control system which can reduce the rate of occurrences and improve safety. Since 2015, CAC, through development of the guidance on the establishment of operational risk control systems by carriers, and the relevant policies started its efforts to build the operational risk management system for airlines. The policies of the system are based on risk management in SMS, and the risk evaluation is specified and detailed to the level of operation of each flight. In accordance with the system engineering theory, the operational risks are classified into three major aspects involving human, aircraft, and environment, and it creates, as per the two major stages of pre-flight and in-flight, a system of risk evaluation indicators covering flight crew, aircraft, meteorology, aerodrome, and other operational aspects. Through expert evaluation and numerical value assignment, the various risk elements are quantified so that the expert experiences are transferred into information system and converted into knowledge, which helps to improve risk control. With respect to the use of the system, air carriers will, through development of policies, setting up expert groups, creating database, continuous improvement, and other measures to ensure that the system would play its management functions effectively on an ongoing basis. Up to now, all the 52 airlines in Chinese mainland certified under Part 121 have completed the system, which are integrated with the SMA's data and have all-round functions. And the practice of China provides airlines with a theory, methodology, and guidance in this respect. And China is willing to share experience in this regard with other states and proposes to amend relevant subs in Annex 6 when circumstances are ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, People's Republic of China. We now invite Belize to present Working Paper 280 on behalf of Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Belize, you have the floor. Or Nicaragua will rather present. Nicaragua, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The state of Nicaragua is presenting Working Paper 280. It's presented by Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Honduras. Before I read out the paper, we have a comment, Chairman. Working Paper 280 was submitted with recommendations, and we would like to be able to read out the recommendations. The paper that is on the portal apparently does not have the recommendations in it. This paper discusses the initiative of Central American countries jointly with COSESNA and AXA for the implementation of the Central American Safety Events Analysis Program called PASOC in its Spanish acronym. And it serves to collect safety data for further analysis. The conference is invited to take note of the information provided by the Central American states jointly with COSECNA and AXA on the PASOC program. And the conference is also invited to promote regional strategies for coordination for the state safety programs implementation in order to take advantage of and optimize regional resources and achieve the maturity of aviation systems on the basis of critical elements. And this could serve as a robust foundation for SSP implementation and help the region achieve strong safety results. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Nicaragua. We invite ACI Airports Council International to present Working Paper 185. ACI, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ACI's Working Paper 185 describes initiatives and operational safety improvements for airports that are compatible with ICAO's strategic objectives. An important theme of our paper is data-driven decision-making. In this regard, ACI will shortly launch a safety data collection program in compliance with Annex 19, Chapter 5 and Appendix 3. As it matures, this program will support the ICAO GASP and SMS objectives as a reliable source of airport safety data, such as runway safety occurrences, wildlife strikes, etc. To assist SMS implementation by airport operators, ACI has contributed a number of practical examples to the ICAO Safety Management Implementation website. We have published the ACI Safety Management Systems Handbook, which is an action-orientated guide on SMS for aerodrome operators, including a wide variety of best practices. Also, we're assisting aerodrome certification through ACI's Apex and Safety Program, as well as the joint ACI-ICAO Aerodrome Certification Training course, and a new ACI-ICAO course named Implementing Annex 14, Advanced Aerodrome Design and Operations. Runway safety is a very high priority for ACI and its members. ACI fully supports the establishment of local runway safety teams and compliance with Annex 14 and PANS aerodromes. The new ICAO global reporting format for runway safety condition assessment and reporting will be an important step. Aerodrome operators will play a key role when it is introduced worldwide in 2020. ICAO and ACI will co-host a symposium on the global reporting format from 26th to 28th of March 2019, and will launch an online training module with ICAO. On emerging safety issues, ACI has just published a policy paper on drones to ensure that useful drone operations are facilitated, but without negative impact to the safety, security, efficiency, or capacity of airport operations. ACI believes in a risk-based approach as per the type of drone operations at or in the vicinity of the airport. ACI also wants to draw the attention of states to work on appropriate deterrent measures against lasers directed at aircraft with potentially serious consequences. In conclusion, the conference is invited to A, note the information provided on ACI initiatives that support aerodrome safety and the ICAO GASP, and B, recommend states to encourage their airport operators to approach ACI for assistance, including the Apex and Safety Program, use ACI's training program on aerodrome safety, and support ACI's safety data collection. Thank you.
Thank you, ACI. We need at least 2 states to support ACI's paper before it can be discussed or considered. Okay, I have several. That's okay. Thank you very much. We also note information papers 130 and 131 presented by Brazil on Brazilian aviation safety team and the role of national level implementation of collaboration safety initiatives and fatigue management approach in Brazil respectively. So let's take note of IP 130 and 131. We will now pause for coffee break, which has been generously sponsored by Frequentis. So let's stretch our legs, go out, take a cup of coffee or tea, and be back at 3:55 p.m. prompt for us to begin at 4 p.m. Thank you very much. Enjoy your coffee.